Hi everyone, welcome all of you, especially on the behalf of Women's Forum of the Institute of Internal Auditors India, Delhi branch. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's fire chat on coping with narcissists, setting boundaries. We are thrilled to have so many of you here, committed to exploring the vital skills of assertive communication and emotional resilience, which are so essential in both our personal and professional lives. And I'm happy to see that all of you are joining during festive season, so I can see the priority. This session has been carefully designed to offer practical tools, expert insights, and an open platform for discussions that are much needed yet often challenging. In our roles, whether in the workplace or at home, we may find ourselves interacting with individuals who are narcissists or those who think that they are the center of the whole world. Thus, learning to set boundaries effectively is not just crucial in our professional lives, it's the need of the hour in our personal life as well. Today's event promises to be a powerful experience thanks to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Shankar, Ms. Ashima, and including me. So let's open our mind and try to not just listen what we all are discussing today. This is an open platform. You can ask as many questions as you want by end of the session, or you can raise the hand during the session as well. So first, I would like to invite Mr. Shankar Ghosh Choudhury. I'm going to give you a very long introduction. Like I always mention, he is a gem in the sector which is essential, I think, in any profession, that is sales profession. But formally, let me introduce him. He is a mix of entrepreneurship and job in few top MNCs operating in India. He started he started his profession stint with the setting up of his own enterprise in 1996, long back. Best Emerging Company Award twice since Economic Times desk. Shankar, can I short the introduction because it's a very long paragraph. Yeah. So he collaborated with one of the Nasdaq listed US MNCs to take his venture into global platform on a technology which was beyond the time in 2003. India has not experienced collaborative media-rich software before that. He played few pivotal roles in Wipro, SAP, and Oracle in his job life. He managed SARC business, including Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh during Wipro days. He joined one of the best software MNCs, SAP, in India. He managed revenue line for few industry practice, awarded the winner's circle from SAP board. He was one of the digital policy reform representative from the MNC in Government of India. He got awarded twice as best leader in APC there. Shankar is now actively working on different nation building programs. In his new venture, Gambit Forward Limited, he has built a sports excellency software platform with India's tennis legendary Leander Paes. This is aiming the nationwide sports talent identification program with training and recovery from injury with the help of data science and technology. On the other hand, with Grave Oak, he is designing the campus to corporate programs for B school students and corporate leaders with Indian Army. Special Force Operation Unit. Purpose is to build a nation for new generation with high morals, ethics, and fear for free life. And in short, he likes mushroom truffle. Okay, on a lighter note. So yeah, the another expert who is joining us today in the session is Miss Ashima Batra. She is a multifaceted individual dedicated to empowering others. I have met her in person. I could say that her journey is empowering enough for all of us. As a self defense instructor at Delhi Police Department, Ashima leverages her extensive martial arts training to promote personal safety and resiliency. Her journey includes 2 years of studying martial arts under esteemed institutes such as Shaolin Temple India and Cross Trained Fight Club. She's a motivational speaker, mental health coach, inspiring individuals, including me, to overcome challenges and embrace their strength. With her dynamic expertise, Ashrama Matra continues to leave a lasting impact. And I'm pretty sure that after this session, she will leave that lasting impact on all of us. So that's about Mr. Shankar and Miss Ashima. Talking about me, the third expert on the panel today, I am chairing the Women's Forum at Institute of Internal Auditors, Delhi branch. I would not like to add anything else apart from that today because maybe somebody else could introduce me. I'm really bad at introducing myself. So now, Mr. Shankar, the stage is yours now, and then we can have a very candid discussion over how to cope up with a narcissist. Thanks.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you, IIA Managing Forum, for inviting me here. And first of all, thank you to everybody who has participated, that too also in weekend and coming in this festival season. I really thank everyone for your time taking out, and I will just try my level best to have this particular session as meaningful as possible. First of all, am I audible? Because I do have a little bit of sore throat today. Is it all
You're
right,
audible.
Priya? I mean, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
you're audible.
All right. Great. So, first of all, I will just quickly take you through what narcissist or the narcissism is all about. We all know there are people who really think that we, me, myself, kind of in world. Um, that basically comes from that particular world of the narcissism, and the impact is humongous negatively, unfortunately, on the social or the socio-economic environment or the life around us. uh, there are impacted areas where human life really got challenged with the narcissist people around. And in my opinion, two areas where really got impacted the most. One is the working environment, that too also especially added disadvantage to the women who are really working on today's life. They really face challenge. I'm personally convinced that yes, they really take an extra mile of the challenge in their life to handling for the narcissist people around them. That is one. Secondly, in the family life, in any kind of a relationship, whether it is with the spouse, whether it is a parenting, whether it is any kind of a friendship, or narcissist people, if you are around, then it's a different what do you call the degree of the precise I would say that execution model that we should actually we should all know. Anyway, so I will quickly start my this introduction part of that particular narcissism, or how to really handle that particular narcissism. I will tell you with one of my personal experience and the real life story. It was very quickly, I will take you through because of the interest of time. 2015, 15 actually, I was working with one of, if you do not know, Indian Armed Forces has, rather every armed forces has got a special force unit. Special force unit is basically a special combat unit who are designed to operate behind the enemy lines. So I was, working with one of that particular unit, which is, I will just share my screen so that you just let me know if the screen is visible.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Yes. So precisely now I can remember it's the 23rd to 28th, that particular week of 2015. And so that was basically a project that I was working for with them. And it was a 7 para special forces. Para special force is not the paramilitary, is basically the parachute regiment of Indian Army. And where it is basically all the all the officers, they are volunteer officer. That means they basically get from from all the regimental army to join special force, and they do have their one training unit at Nahan, Himachal. with this particular gentleman. I still remember it was basically one of the session that we had, and I was one of them. So he's Colonel Kaushal Kashyap. He was 7 Para SF Special Commando, and then he retired as a NSG in this anti-hijacking squad unit. The reason I am saying all this, because that was that day, that particular time, I didn't know that it was basically, the anti and how to handle narcissism and everything. Then later on, when with time, like everybody of us, when I also grew in my life, then I have realized that particular discussion on that evening, how relevant it was in terms of how to handle the narcissist people. So I'll give you a brief background. It was an evening session. Like all of you know that army people and the evening, they only know only one thing, that is drink. And it was one of the drinking session. Kaushal was that time, he was colonel, and he was a group commander of that particular unit. And one of the very small unit of the 4 or 5 people, they basically just finished their operation in Baramulla of JNK, and they came back to Nahan. And very young officer, he was major, and he actually bravely neutralized 3 terrorists, one of his operations. And the discussion was really going on that I'm not revealing the name, that yes, so and so has really done a great job and everything. So all his what do you call, uh, the acquaintance, or the rather the peer groups, they were actually saying a lot of debriefing session, as it was a casual debriefing session to Kaushal. And I was with Kaushal, and then suddenly, when the debriefing was going on, so that particular major was naturally was saying a lot of stories, that what, how I have entered into that particular room, and when it was a full of crossfire, and somehow that I have managed, blah blah blah. So one after one story of the brevity and everything. So suddenly, I was actually looking at Kaushal, and his face was very stern, and I I I was I was understanding that he was obviously not liking few things, but I was actually thinking that his group finally, young or his officer, he has actually done a great job, and this guy was not very well and not very happy with that. Then suddenly he stopped that particular conversation, and he said that he called him by his name and said that, tell me something, that how many times did you touch your communication device while in the operation? Then that young officer started, I mean, got a little bit of, stop there. And he said that, sir, yeah, I mean, we parallelly communicated with this backend control room. And the Kaushal said that, how many times did you speak to the communication device? Then he answered that. Then he again asked this gentleman that, how many times you have to depend on the cover fire that while in the operation. Cover fire means when somebody moves in, there was a group, he basically gave the complete suppressing fire to the opponent so that they cannot open the fire, and in between the particular window, that execution operator, he gets into that favorable position. So that is called the cover fire. So he was actually asking that young major that, how many times you get the cover fire? So he said, sir, you know that multiple times. Then he actually, made a amazing session to this particular gentleman. And these army people, they never, wait for a typical corporate environment, key, digital board law, and let's make that particular presentation PPT. They really don't care all this. And then he took a 2-3 minutes of monologue, and that was an eye opener for many people, I'm sure. I really liked it. Still, I remember in my life. And then later on, I have realized that yes, this is how you can actually handle the narcissist people in your life. He actually told me in the summing up, they never allow anyone to take a ride on you. That is very important in life. So
Wonderful.
Uh, First of all, then Kaushal said that, he was actually saying, uh, that particular young major, saying that always set the boundary in life. So, first of all, you are getting into that particular zone where there is always a personal glory. There is no space of personal glory in army life. But in my opinion, then I have translated that knowledge or the learning into my real life, in my life, or rather in everybody life of yours, because we are not from armed forces, we are from the civilian. But in our life also, there is no space of the personal glory. If somebody thinks that he or she is that particular, the chitspa, that taking that particular entire glory on yourself, he or she is in the wrong place. Set the boundary is very, very clear to understand that where your boundaries are. Your boundary, I mean, in that particular storyline, he's that young major was actually very intelligent, but he also had to depend on a lot of very strong supply line behind in the communication device, where he was constantly talking to this backend team. He was constantly depending on that particular, the other peer of himself, where they basically give the cover fire. So he actually did not mention, or he actually did not give any kind of credit to any of the people. So Kaushal actually, set him very clearly where exactly that he was lacking about. So that is the second. The second point is that the manage expectation. In my opinion, these kind of a narcissist people, they are highly obsessed about their expectation and their storyline and their limelight and everything. So I think, in my opinion, I have also come across with so many narcissist people in my life, but it is always important that we should manage our expectation and also set the expectation for them to clearly set up. It is not about always the adjust from our side. What I'm saying, that it is difficult to handle them, but it does not mean that you have to completely adjust yourself only. It is very, very important to set the boundary clear for themselves, saying that this is your expectation also, right? And the third point is that, and that is most important, is that their emotional quotient is very low. In my opinion, all the narcissist people, whatever I have come across in my life, or theoretically, whatever the book or the reference or the research document that I have gone through, their emotional quotient is a little bit of low in terms of their empathetical situation is, or rather the resilience is very, very low. So naturally it is better to keep a distance, emotional distance always with them, because the moment you engage them emotionally, then it becomes a problem, because they do not care about your emotional empathy or your emotional quotient about it. So, that is the problem. So these 3 points were very, very, very interesting for me that time. And then I have later on, I have taken these lessons in my life. And these things are important to set them at their place, because that is very important. Because unless and until you set them at their place at the very beginning, then trust me, it's going to be a very heavy toll on your, on your life, be it your working life or be it your personal life. They will just take a high toll onto your life. That is one. And second thing, the focus on, mission is obviously for the armed forces term, but in my opinion, we should be focused on our purpose in working environment. I, you, everybody, we work with basically with certain goals. Now, if we are focused on that particular goal, then no matter what, who we are dealing with, whether she's senior, junior, or she's senior person or the junior person, really doesn't matter. It really matters how much are we focused onto that particular goal, rather than focus to please that particular gentleman. That is not our job. To some extent, we can handle them, but not later on. Otherwise, it is going to, take your particular life to the toll. So that's basically, in my opinion, I think that was one of my very strong learning in my life, real time story. I still have a relationship with that gentleman, and um, you know, he still, I mean, he's a retired now, but he always says that yes, this is something like there are certain learning that in the real life from the cross industry is extremely important. So with this particular fact, I will just you know take a pause. And since we do have I think it is the end of the session, the question answer session. But having said that, quickly I will put it over to Priya, so that I think we do have a panel discussion as well. I just wanted to set the context of that particular subject. The narcissism, trust me, it is just not a word. I have seen many people who have suffered in their life with the toxic environment, ended up with a nasty, what do you call, the dogfight with whether it is a professional life or the personal life. But in my opinion, the best part is that when Ashima is also there, so I will also take a little bit of reference of her field. In martial art also, on the self-defense also, it is always good to set the boundary at the very first beginning. Otherwise, people start thinking, he will constantly push you, or she will constantly push you back. And that is dangerous because you have to exist. We all have to exist. And in terms of existing, it is always better to set the boundary in the very beginning. With this note, over to you, Priya, and then we'll definitely have a deep discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shankar, for setting the context very well. The points that you have mentioned are very relevant, and like you said, narcissist behavior is not just a psychological phenomena which is there in the society. Many suicide, be it corporate suicide or suicide in their personal, forte of people, are happening because of this, because they're unable to take this toxicity beyond their, daily life. So I have a question which is very specific to your experience. Like, as a manager, you were in senior management as well in sales and operations. Can you please share an instance where you encountered narcissist behavior within the team or from a leader? And what level of impact did this behavior have on a team morale or productivity? Because I think, like, I also manage a team within my organization. It's not just about the leader, it's about the team or the subordinates as well, where somebody could be a narcissist and behave, that is affecting the overalls overall team's morale. So how do you address it, and what strategies did you find most effective in maintaining a positive work environment?
Yeah, I mean, yes, very right. I mean, it's a very relevant question, though. Actually, yes, I personally came from the sales background. Most of my life, the professional stints, I actually came from the revenue background, which is sales or marketing. People think that are uh, salespeople are extremely aggressive, extremely they basically push the customers, or the push the situation towards that particular towards a particular extent, so that they basically book the revenue or close the deal kind of a situation. It is true. But at the same time, yes, experience means I can share one experience. Again, I mean, I don't want to reveal any kind of a name for that particular matter. So it was 2019 when I joined Oracle as an organization. So I was managing India government business for Oracle. Uh, so it was a pretty large team. And so we had a team divided between the northern India, I mean, zone, north, south, east, west. And in parallel of mine, there was because I was heading the sales team, and there was another team called the business development. So business development was a team where they basically open up a lot of new conversation with the customers and all. So that gentleman was a parallel with that particular designation that I was handling that time. So it's a very, very, very funny story. I mean, he on the very early days of my Oracle stint, so he used to always call me, and suddenly, just the day morning, where the because on that there was a weekly day, where every Wednesday of every week there was a national review. So we used to because Monday was the review date for me and my team. We used to nationwide, we used to take the feed, process it by Tuesday, and Wednesday it was the day to push this particular data up to Australia, as India was a part of the APJ. I mean, Asia Pacific and Japan, and that was the headquarter was in Australia. Very interesting. Every Wednesday morning, that gentleman used to call me, and abruptly he used to throw some particular data were completely irrelevant. Trust me. I mean, and earlier days, I didn't really understand. I mean, where from he's getting all the data, and he was something like throwing the data something, something like, okay, so Indian power in the energy sector, Oracle revenue. Do you have any kind of information, Shankar? I have just come to know just 2 3 days back that in the power sector, Microsoft has done pretty well. The last week revenue upstream of the Microsoft really gone high by 10% over Oracle, and this kind of a typical data, and every week. And then I have later on, I have realized that this particular call used to come on every Wednesday morning only, and then completely lull for the next week. And then again, Wednesday morning. Then later on, I have seen that pattern, and then I have understood. And then later on, as usual, because if you really write on a very choppy board, that particular board is visible to everybody, every organization, every stakeholder. Then I've come to know that that is his style. And that is another very interesting fact of the narcissism as a character, the narcissist as a character. It comes from, now I will take a pause of that particular storyline, because then you can understand this coming from the similar story of everybody, I'm sure that they have experienced in their life, some way or the other, similar to this kind of a story. Interesting fact is that then I have discussed with one of my very close friends who is basically a psychologist. Then he was explaining me that this thing comes from the fear psychosis, or the fears. He was actually very scared to manage his job. There are two ways only you can exist. Anybody can exist. One is that you take your sleeves up and then get into that particular mud, and then get yourself dirty and do this particular job. That means you needs to be expert on your respective job that you are in, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is sales, whether it is production, plant, whatever you are. Being a doctor, you need to be S in the surgery or medicine, whatever it is. If it is not, then you have to take different kind of a turn, twist, and this all kind of a mumbo jumbo. This is nothing coming from just to save your job. One part is that you are doing your job, then another set of the people who basically save your job. The moment it becomes the secondary part, the saving your job, then these activities, or these what you call the characteristics, also leads you towards the narcissism. Because so every time, because it's a very common saying, right? I mean, blowing his own trumpet. But blowing his own or her own trumpet only comes when he or she is extremely scared of their individual, what do you call, the expertise level. In my opinion, I have seen that if you have your expertise very clear, then trust me, you don't have to do all this. And the moment you don't have to do all this, first of all, there is a high chance that you will never get trapped into this kind of a narcissism. Because people think that narcissist people, that this is the only way, that it is a behavioral pattern problem. It is not. Of course it is, but at the same time, there are also situations which invokes you towards that particular narcissism. Like one of my very close friend, childhood friend, he is into police. And you can understand, I mean, on every personal meeting, he always tries to, hide their uh, I mean, this kind of an typical wrong things by saying that क्या करे system ही ऐसा है. तो मैं भी हंस रहा था कि system कैसे बना. System, it is basically, it's a complete set of the people like me and you. But if you endorse yourself in that particular situation, that becomes a problem. That is one. Second thing is that the way, what Priya has asked me, that the way to handle that situation or the handle this kind of people is very, very clear, is that of course, if you are in a certain position to command the authority, it is a little bit easier because you can set the boundaries in a very, very easy way, because there are certain authorities that you are carrying. But same time, while you are basically growing up and from the scratch level, sometimes it is not easy because most of the people, they are senior and most of the people. But if you observe somebody, it is only me, myself, me, myself, me, myself. It is always better. I mean, I used to do in my life, and trust me, it works. You can try it out. I am not a psychologist or I am not an expert on that, but I have. It's a time tested tricks. You can try it out. The thing is, generally, you have observed one thing: the people who are only talking about my, me, myself, they generally take a long time as a prelude to get into that particular context. The moment you do that, the moment I mean, see that particular time that he or she is taking in terms of the runway to taking their flight to get into that landing zone, uh, you always can do this. Ki, oh, yeah, yeah, sir, I have seen that, but or ma'am, I have heard this particular story from, it's a so famous story of yourself, and then what do you call, the stretch that particular next few miles and ask him to land in the next zone. So it is always better, because he also gets happy that his trumpet is so, I mean, so big way, it is basically spreading around the country. So that is that is a short trick. But if it is really going above the what do you call this threshold, or rather permissible limit, I think it is better to just take absolutely head on and say that, hey, look, I mean, I think we do have a time, and the time is precious. Can we get into that particular thing, as quickly as possible? Because it is very, very difficult. Again, I'm telling you, if you allow some people, whether it is senior, junior, or the parallel, if you allow somebody to ride upon you for a long time, then it's going to be a difficult case.
Absolutely. I mean, creating or setting that boundary is very important, Shankar.
Yeah.
Another question which is very relevant apart from your professional life, you're a parent. I know you have a very cute son, so it's something related to that, because we have seen the pattern of parents who are narcissist. So how
Yeah.
can people recognize and cope with narcissist parenting behaviors, such as some parents you use their child for validation. They offer conditional love or provide support only when it aligns with their image. So what strategies do you think can foster healthier self-image and independence in the child despite of these challenges?
No, 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 Priya. It's very true. It's very true. Whether I'm a parent, whether yes, I mean, yes, it is a problem. It is a problem. I'll tell you something, because eventually, the school that my son goes to, very recently, thankfully, thanks to the school management, they have formed a external body. Uh, External body means it is basically a management body of their particular school. It is a small group of the people from the volunteer parent only, who really want to come and volunteer themselves in order to uh, coping up with this pressure of today's kids, and especially how to. So the school nowadays, that particular school, arranges once a month uh, parenting session, and that basically session is governed by the 5 6 people, and I am thankful the school found myself also in that particular suitable for that. So we have made a some handy, you know, what do you call this? I mean, the way of operation or the way of handling the kids, because this is one of the most sensitive area. This is one of the in the corporate life you can put your resignation, but in parenting you cannot. I mean, you have to really deal with this, and while dealing with this, you have to understand one thing: this generation of the kids, they are extremely smarter than you. That is the most important statement, that we all have to accept it gracefully, not with a pinch of salt. Gracefully we'll have to accept our kids are more smarter than us, our kids are more intelligent than us, our kids are more sensitive also than us. You know, I most observed statement ki aajkal ke bacche, but trust me, आजकल के बच्चे, it's all in a good sense, all in a good trust. It is only the problem created by us. We set our expectation in a very low scale, right? I'll just give you a small example. Of course, I hope nobody minds to take a very what do you call what do you call very personal experience of my life. Uh, you um, you can so my son used to always has a problem while interacting in the class, that he interacts a lot. So when he interacts a lot, then I have found some parents, they have actually, they got teachers feedback that your kids are talkative. So there is a difference between talkative and the interactive, because uh, in our days when we grew up, there was a lot of less, lot of there was a not awareness at all with the parents and with the kids. So kids, so you forget it. So nowadays the kids are well aware, and we parents, we need to be also responsible in the particular awareness that they are extremely sensitive to deal with this. First and foremost is that my humble request to all the parents, and that do not put your child into the cycle of the called it is a guilt cycle. It is basically a guilt and then shame, and then again guilt and then shame. So I very interesting case study that came up with that particular school that my son goes to. uh, they have very recently started one particular award, or rather the incentive program with the kids of from from class 1 to more or less class, I think, till class 7. They have arranged this particular session, that every time you do a mistake you will get an incentive. Every time you do a mistake you get an incentive, provided you go to home, you go to your parent, and then you accept that, or you own that particular mistake, that yes, I have done a mistake. So this thing opens up multiple options, but at the same time, there's a lot of responsibility comes to the parents like us. We also have to take that huge responsibility while accepting that particular mistake, because the kid is kid. He doesn't know, or she doesn't know this about this impact of that particular responsibility. He will just simply say that, mom, or dad, today I have not given my homework because I just simply didn't feel like to do it. I know I have done a mistake. But then it is your responsibility to make him or make her understand that next time you should not do that, or rather, why you have not failed it. So anyway, for the interest of time, I'm not getting deep into that, but this is a huge area of parenting. And of course, being a parent, we should not have any kind of the area of the me and myself. Forget about it. There is no space. It is all about, I'm not about the pampering, but we should respect our kids also simultaneously. Uh, Priya, I think we are running out of time. For the interest of time, I have just, very interesting question I have kept within the sleeves of myself for you specifically, because you have not give your proper introduction. But anyway, while listening to this answer, I'm sure this your introduction part will also be clear. So I'm sure while handling so many roles in your life, you are also an entrepreneur by yourself. You are running a massive social, what do you call, the social reform activities throughout the country, operating out of Delhi, and same time being a woman, um, because whatever it is, when people are really talking about women empowerment, I'm sure there are a lot of challenges behind the curtain for a woman to really exist and really to operate on their own dignity. How do you really manage? Because last time also when we spoke, I still remember there are a lot of challenges that you are actually explaining. How do you manage that particular thing? Because every time it is not about the narcissism. Narcissism is the one part. When the challenge comes to your, or I'm not talking about you as a specific, for any woman with a very strong area of respect, that I wanted to make this statement, that every woman in this country, when they are taking a step, it's an invisible 10 hands pulling them back with a lot of unsaid rules, unsaid regulations, unsaid, what do you call this? I don't know. I mean, the kind of statements. How do you really manage that?
Very, very relevant question, which I would have loved to share my experiences in this session, but I think we are really short of time. So I would like to give one example, then I can add on to what experiences I had uh, with respect to narcissism, patriarchy, etc. So one of the example, I have been working with Ministry of Rural Development as a national level monitor. So we had to monitor certain schemes which are being implemented by, uh, by different states in their districts. So one of them was knowing what the self-help groups have been doing so far in the last 5 years. And we, personally, I am always intrigued and more interested to know their failures, the SHGs. So SHGs are the self-help groups. It's a group of women who come together, pool their money, do some activities, economic activities, so that they can run their livelihood. Okay. So I have been, not just looking towards the numbers, but what's behind the number, right? For example, if an SHG from Maharashtra was able to make billions in 80 years now, I'll name that SHG by end of the example. And on the other hand, there are some groups which are not able to do that. So what are the gaps? So I'm more interested to know that. So once upon a time, I have been having a discussion with the founder member of this billions worth company, and we eat that particular product almost in every wedding we go to, or maybe in our homes. So she's a very old, very wise lady, and I asked her, "Ma'am, I, being an entrepreneur myself, also a working professional, also a woman living into Delhi. So I don't want to, debrand anything, but just that it's a very tough job, right? Because when we talk about narcissism, and especially for women, it stems from patriarchy. And when they club patriarchal mindset and narcissism, this is a poison for anybody's career. Okay, so there is politics, then there are gender norms, and then there are institutional reinforcements as well. So various challenges which women, I think, who are listening to us may be able to connect. So I asked her, "Ma'am, you started with 8 to 9 members, having just 80 rupees each, right? And now this, it's not just about money. You would have done something magical. She said, let me tell you about the challenges we faced, right? The first challenge was capital. And one thing which really worked out for them, like you also mentioned, Shankar, was they knew their job. They knew how to make that product. They were experts into it. Everybody loved their product when they, asked their peers or family to taste it. So they knew their job. They started selling in the local area. And then over the period of time when people loved their product, they did face some issues related to community engagement as well, because people were not funding that initiative at that time. People used to ask, you're a woman, if you're pregnant then you will leave the job, you leave the company, you leave the board, how could you lead that? आप अपना इतना बड़ा बिजनेस बनाने की सोच रहे हैं. They had high dreams. Even if you talk to them, immensely potential dreams they have. And she mentioned we just went ahead and we started on the that model of self sustainability. So that, Shankar, you remember I always mentioned that NGO, the purpose of Savipriya Foundation is not just about taking donations. We do not really focus on that. We focus on self-sustainability.
Correct.
That really came from that instance.
Correct.
That you need to be self-reliant, basically. Right? Your product or service should be like that. Okay, then financially they were doing better over a period of time. So they were not in a hurry कि अभी
Hmm.
करना है.
Hmm.
Okay, कैसे करना है, अच्छे से कैसे करना है, they knew. Then again, this is one of the value you remember I always talk about. I am in no rush.
Hmm.
हो जाएगा. If I am following this path, then हो जाएगा. But again, then I asked her that after reaching at a certain level, you meet different stakeholders. It's not just about consumers. It's about your competitors. It's about, the political interference as well. And they are at that level that would have been there. So there, she gave me a very good lesson, which was practical to follow in professional and personal life both.
Okay.
And I could realize that when I've been, listening to her, that very simple three-step formula, which I also followed in my personal life, is first communicate with that person, because you cannot make assumption about somebody if you have not spoken to them in detail.
Correct.
Communicate, बात करिए उनसे. हो सकता है they may had some issues, some traumas in their past, and they're not aware that they're narcissist. So
Yes.
if they are open about this particular discussion, then you will be able to make them acknowledge that okay, this is the issue.
Right.
Sometimes happen to me as well. We are all human.
Yeah.
Suppose you tell me that okay, Priya, you don't have to always talk about yourself. Then I'll also realize that okay, every time I'm just talking about myself, maybe it's an issue. It's an issue, right? Then I'll work on it. So communicate
Yeah.
first. कोई भी she gave me an example of a political leader in Maharashtra. So she took no assumption, because generally, how politicians are. So she took no assumptions that he or she is a narcissist. वो गई जाकर अच्छे से बात करी, and that lady belonged to a village. उन्हें ऐसा बहुत ही simple, sober, and she went ahead with confidence. So बात किया, बात करने से इतना घर वाला, आप समझ रहे हैं ना, ऐसा हो गया कि ओवर अ लॉन्ग रन दे वर नॉट जस्ट फ्रेंड्स, दे बिकेम फैमिली फ्रेंड्स.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was why communication was important.
Very true.
Building relations for long run. Right.
Correct.
Second is, sometimes when we communicate and that doesn't turn out to be okay, effective.
Right.
That behavior is again the same. Second time, third time, fourth time. That's when we quote them as narcissist.
Very important. Yes. So think before the tag. Yeah.
Yeah. So first you communicated, and second you actually, documented all the interactions. either on a paper or in your mind itself, then you're able to not just judge them, you evaluate them, basically.
Yeah,
Right? And we don't do this for any stranger. We are actually evaluating people who are surrounding us, and that matters a lot when it comes to our growth, be it personal or professional.
correct, correct.
So that's what she did for all the interaction she had with that political leader. She documented,
Hmm.
okay, every step, like 4 5 meetings, then क्या behavior change हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ, it's okay, काम बना नहीं बना, that's it. Because sometimes it's a diplomatic dialogue as well when you
Correct.
reach that level, right?
Yes.
Then third step was, when you know that okay, हिंदी में बोलते हैं दाल नहीं गल गल रही है या नहीं होगा, कि that person is going to be very toxic for you, that deal is going to be very toxic for you. Because when something is really important for us, we give that particular thing or situation a lot of time and effort, be it a deal, be it a person, right?
Correct.
So in that case, which really helped in my life as well, and she gave that, suggestion, is to detach emotionally.
Mm.
Just detach.
Mm.
That does not exist. Okay? And these three steps are, related, very much related. You are doing
Excellent.
your work, you're getting to know the person, you're not making the assumption, and then you are acting on it, right?
Amazing.
So that lady is the founding member of Legit Papad.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And I, so, I'm experimental. I just don't follow things blindly. And that time I have been just going through something, like always, kuch na kuch, we all go through something.
It is a case study
So,
of lijjat ki ijjat.
yeah, yeah. So then I followed the same, process. It turned out to be magical for me.
Very
And
nice.
most of the time, so maybe the audience, some of you are not aware, I'm also working full time. I have a corporate job, I have an NGO, I have a family, and multiple other tasks which I do, including this, sharing this forum. So yes, you meet many people and situations, I would say, like that, and you need to just, when you get to know he or she is a narcissist, just detach.
Yeah, yeah.
Setting boundaries, just detach. I mean, now coming to my own experience, I mean, I have, I think, a list of narcissists in my life even now, but in my personal life, I would not really name or name the relation as well. I have been seeing that pattern since my childhood. Okay, and
Mm.
like I mentioned, how I started this, proper answer is, it's about patriarchy for women, that power system. Okay, that, okay, Shankar, you remember I told you someday कि अगर मैंने कुछ patterns तोड़े नहीं होते within my personal
Yeah,
life,
yeah, yeah.
then I wouldn't have been speaking here.
Correct, correct,
Okay,
correct,
मैं यहाँ नहीं होती.
correct.
That's the simplest answer. So वो उस जर्नी से निकल कर आना ही, of course it's a traumatic experience, but when you help others to get out of this, it's nothing is more blissful than that.
Very true.
Okay, so that is the reason I'm running this particular social impact based organization. Even if I wouldn't have, जो नहीं करती थी पहले भी, I used to console people or help people out of this, because these are the challenges which you face on personal front. And I think all of us, from all the challenges you face as a woman in any gender, आप उसे कुछ सीख रहे हैं तो वो experience आप किसी से share करिए, because that is a very in kind leverage you can do for yourself in
Very true.
finance term, right? That is a basically leverage for your life, right?
Very true.
So please do that. That's
Very
the whole point,
excellent.
Shankar. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And since we are actually uh, somehow managing, trying to manage the time. Priya, I would like to, I just wanted to Ashima to now confront, and because she's a power source of a lot of uh, you know real thought of how to handle the narcissist people. That too also from this. Uh,
Absolutely. So now let's open this platform for Miss Ashima. I am sure that she is going to share the practical tactics which could be used to face or cope up with the narcissist. So all yours, Ashima.
Thank you so much, Priya and Shankar sir, for inviting me, giving me this opportunity. Being a martial arts practitioner since 10 years and training women, children, in self-defense. I have always been hardcore learner of my own matter and mind. So I like to study like how the mind and matter reacts. So in my own field, which is quite a little unconventional as compared to Indian family standards, I was also not accepted because they weren't able to understand why is she always going out getting punched in the face for no reason while in my practicing days. So I have also have had my fair share of letdowns and come across people who have they get intimidated. There are like various, like talking about the narcissists, I would like to say there are various kinds of narcissists. There are covert narcissists who play themselves as victims and use passive aggressive behavior. There are communal narcissists who are trying to satisfy themselves while showing themselves as heroic. There are grandiose narcissists who portray themselves, who come across as very confident and bold, and are always wanting validation and attention. So these are the terms, various terms, and there are vulnerable narcissists who always want to, just gain sympathy and attention. And over the years, with a lot of practice and dealing with various people, I have only realized, like, to cope up with this strategy, like both of you, Priya and Mr. Shankar were talking about, how to disengage, how to detach, and all of that. I only believe that our body is a vessel, of course. So if we treat it right, if we listen to it, it can only help us be more in tune with ourselves. So if I wasn't working on myself, listening to my body, I wouldn't have been able to pick up those signs, because as a child, I have also grown up alone with no as such support. So I was able to navigate only because I was putting my energies into, you know physical activities and meditation. So having that sense of, so these one point I would like to add, these narcissists only the empathetic people, people who are very sensitive, they are the most easy, and I would like to add juiciest targets for narcissist people. So it's like they would come and hunt for empathetic people. They would like to, you know just just know all their vulnerabilities and just serve it on a platter, and slowly would use all their vulnerabilities against them. So there it becomes very difficult for the person who has, just let all his or her boundaries down, um, and it has fallen prey to it, because it's very easy to say to detach, but when someone is going through that, or trust into, as at the end we are all humans, it creates a whole void. It creates a whole lot of stress, it creates headaches and, chest pain, and the severe pains that you get, it creates gut issues. So all for all of that, having that strong um, how would I strong sense of emotional emotional quotient, wherein I would like to address in my previous session I've had with the IIA. When we had a session for stress management, I said that to observe your emotions is very very important, your own emotions, because we have to understand it can be very very triggering for people who might be dealing with the various kinds of narcissists, that we are nothing but mere supplies for them. No matter how good you are, no matter how empathetic you are, no matter how compassionate you are, we must understand that at some level, in deeper level, it is not even a behavioral pattern, but people who are like hardcore narcissists, it is somewhat their nature. And to treat a disorder is also a little easy, but to change someone's nature is something that can even take lifetimes, if I may talk on spiritual level. Like it is like the samskara that they have to change and address and become aware. So for that, one must understand that it is going to take, if I don't know, I have no idea who all are attending the session, but if anybody is going through any kind of such abuse, or I just want to tell you that your body is telling you are feeling that void, that stress. So you must start observing the sensations of your body and start looking at the other person with no emotional reaction, even if they are targeting to your personal, they have this habit to gaslight you, to character assassinate you, and to do a lot of they would just not take they would not take accountability, which can be so much hurtful. So it is like their supply, they're like energy sucking vampires at a certain point. So it is very very important, while detaching, or if anybody who doesn't want to get prey into such things, having that strong emotional quotient is very important. To just observe, start observing the people, the emotions, and not reacting to it. Detachment only comes when you are, when even your feelings are not yours. Even the body that we have is not ours. So on the surface level we understand that this body is not ours, but the mind and matter is reacting constantly, and we are having these n number of sensations and we are falling prey to it. So even realizing, having that peculiar sense of awareness that these feelings are not even ours, can give us that, yes, it is going to be very very painful, this transformation, but can give us that sense of little hope. And of course reaching out to people, having someone, having a sense of camaraderie, going for counseling, and taking care of your body, the physical body is very very important. So while I was going through, I had a very brief experience, but I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship. I immediately got the fact that yeah, this is what it is happening. I disengaged. Even while it was for a short span, it created a lot of pain in me, and I had to deal with it. What I did was, I was not escaping from what I was feeling. I took it a good time. I would feel what I have created in my body, but I would just experience it and not react to it. Because I knew this feeling that I am, this emotional void or this toxicity that I have gathered from the other person, is impermanent and it is not gonna ruin me. And it took me a huge effort to go out and do my work every day and shifted all my focus to myself. And I'm very proud, and all of us, that I'm still not changed. Be true to who you are, and set strong boundaries, be communicative, and always listen to what your body is telling you. We all are intuitive, we all are guided. So just stand up for yourselves. Stay healthy, stay happy, meditate, and yeah, that's all. Use your body as a vessel to navigate through the toughest of the situations of life. That's all that I would like to say. If any questions are there, then I would be happy to answer. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ashima. You explained well the physical sensations that we feel are the symbol of the turmoil we are facing, and we should not neglect that. We need to have that particularly checked by ourselves and work on it. In respect of time, we are all already beyond 5:30. So I invite Mr. Kavish to give the vote of thanks. And yeah, Kavish.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm feeling so proud to be associated here and having on board Mr. Shankar, who comes from the army background, and he has delivered such a beautiful uh, 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 he has shared his lifetime experiences with us and really taken us through this and navigate us through this entire journey and how we can uh, see that this narcissist behavior, it could be in our workplace, it could be in our social gathering, or maybe family as well, how to navigate ourselves through that and come out of it this. Uh, the 3 points which he has given to us, one is uh, definitely set clear boundaries with these people, manage the expectations, and also in case if something is not happening, not going well, then detach yourself. That's the real outcome, that in case you don't attach with these people emotionally, because they are emotionally weak, and unless we detach ourselves and take care of ourselves, we are not able to come out of this narcissist behavior, or we will be probably kind of a food to them. I really thank Ashima also on board, uh, who has given us such a beautiful example of her own self, and how to understand and how to pick the senses from our own body. And the body gives the signals to ourselves that if we are going through such kind of phase where we are dealing with certain narcissist people, how to uh, go about it and take care of our own health and meditate, so that like we are emotionally strong to navigate ourselves and avoid these kind of people and uh, come out of it. The most important thing is to understand our own self behavior. Are we ourselves not creating such kind of narcissist behavior to others? So, in case if we ourselves assess our own behavior, and in case if we are reacting like that, then probably we need to take care of our own self behavior, because the people, the world with whom we are dealing with, no one no one would like to work along with us or attach with us in any kind of social gathering or probably official purpose, in case if we our own behavior is a narcissist behavior. So this is a very important uh, aspect of life which I would like to uh, bring it to your notice. And in case if our own self behavior is going towards that kind of narcissist behavior, we need to change ourselves and uh, take our life that way. So I also thank Priya, who is guiding all of us, and she's a chairperson of Women's Forum, bringing so relevant topics and to our community. And though it is not a technical from internal audit point of view, but definitely from the life living a beautiful life, and how to deal the cultural aspect in the office behavior, or as well as personal life. These are very, very relevant topic, Priya, and thank you very much to bring on these two stalwarts who has helped us into understanding this particular topic. And it is really a wonderful session. I thank both of you and Priya to share your experiences and from IA. Thank you. I would request Abhishek from IA to produce digital certificates for the participants and for the speakers.
Okay, sir.
Abhishek, you can
Yes,
display.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Shankar. Thank you, Ashima, for giving this wonderful session to us.
I
And
hope
we
it's
are,
visible, sir.
yeah, it is visible. And we are looking forward for more such sessions from your side. And thank you for spending your time. Thank you very much. I thank all the participants who are present here for attending the session and giving their valuable time for this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much once again.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.